Listen, it, it's not about you to be an
Mhm.
effective speaker or communicator. It's not about you. It's about, are you able to help, convince, persuade, just plain help the other person, the listener? What do you need them to do? How do you want them to interact, react with you? So it's not about you. You may know everything you want to know, what's important about this, but how do you communicate that to someone else? So that's a lot of the work that we do.
Well, welcome back to the show. Today, we're joined by someone who has spent decades helping leaders communicate with more clarity, confidence, and really make an impact in the world. So I'm so excited to have Dr. Dennis Becker, the founder of this and CEO of the Speech Improvement Company, one of the longest standing communication firms in the United States. So excited to dive in today. Today, we're going to explore how communication skills really shape leadership success and what effective training firms are doing differently to grow and acquire clients, and the lessons that Dr. Becker has learned from building and growing a training company himself over several decades. So, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Becker. I'd love to start by just hearing the story behind how you originally got into the communication training space.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Heather, for being so interested. And I'm sure this is going to be helpful to several folks who are either in the same situation or who might be. But anyway, you asked me a long 61 years old question. But I will tell you that my wife and I, we met in college and she was studying speech pathology and I was studying speech communication and broadcasting. And we wanted to work together. So we said, let's do it. So after graduation, we said, well, what do we do? So Becker and Becker Associates didn't make any sense. So well, we want to help people be better communicators. So we decided on the name, the Speech Improvement Company. The problem was we didn't have any competition. There was nobody out there we could copy. There's nothing else that we could imitate. So we had to truthfully make it up as we went along. So we started it, and frankly, we started it in the living room of our home. Then we started having kids and so forth. So it was a very busy beginning couple of years. And as I think a lot of entrepreneurs and perhaps some of your listeners and viewers are experiencing, it's bumpy and you don't know exactly where to turn sometimes. Well, we really didn't know because there was nobody we could even imitate. So it took a while, it took 2 or 3 or 4 years for us to get the thing up and running, but we started it in 64 and have never stopped since. And if I tell you something a little bit different, we have never had a down year. Right?
Wow.
So that's something to say about the need for important and improved
Yeah,
communication in our world, really.
absolutely. Yeah, that's so inspiring. I love that you and your wife developed this idea together. You said you have kids? How many kids do you have?
We have 4 kids and eight
Wow.
grandchildren. And
Wow.
we ran the business together every day. She had an office right down the hall from mine. And I mean, that's not for every couple, obviously. That's a difficult kind of a thing to do because
Yeah.
but being both of us being communication experts, so to speak, we worked it out. And we were married for 52 years. And she passed away in 15 years ago now. And
Mhm.
the business goes on, obviously, and it was just a wonderful relationship. She and I wrote 4 books together in the process of all of that, raised 4 kids. And do
Wow.
you have any kids, Heather?
Yeah, I have 2 kids. They're ages 6 and 10 right now. It's
Oh,
fun,
yeah.
a lot of fun. Yeah,
Oh,
it's,
sure.
interesting. My husband and I also run, some a business together. It's more his business, but we work on it together as well in the corporate training space ourselves as well. It's in around mental fitness, and we joke that it's like our 3rd child. So I'm sure you felt the
That's right.
same, like that
Oh, my
like
kids.
your 5th child.
Absolutely. All my kids said they have a 5th child in the family. Absolutely. And and it's not for everybody, as you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes couples simply cannot and should not do that together in order to preserve the relationship, in order to build the business. So it's not for everybody, but thankfully, hopefully for you, it's working. And for us, it certainly is working. It is working. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just I think it really takes a lot of vision and a lot of, um, you know,
Communication.
communication, yes, and really joint dedication to figuring that out, right? Because yeah, it's like a whole other, part of
Yeah.
your lives. It becomes another piece on top of your day job, or I'm not sure if that's what happened in the early days. How did your company grow in the early days? Did you just, did you get funding, or did you have a job for a while as you grew this company?
Yeah, that's a good question. And in the very beginning, when we first started, which was in 1964, we started our first child was in 1965. When we first started, we of course had to fund everything ourselves. There was nobody wanted to fund something that what the heck is speech improvement? Nobody's going to pay it out, know how to talk. They all know how to talk. Now, of course, this industry is huge.
Yeah.
So when we first started, we had to start very softly, as a soft opening, they would say now, in the living room of our home. And as we started having kids, as the kids got older, they were able to actually work with us. They leafleted cars, and we put up posters and laundromats. And it wasn't even there's no internet, of course, and so we had to do all kinds of old-fashioned marketing. A lot of telephone. We had a stack of telephone books from around the country, so we could call people up on the phone, and
Wow.
we
And
ran.
did you work as a therapist as well, like during that time?
That's a good question because in the very beginning, of course, there was no work. So my wife did work as a speech therapist at that time. Her specialty was special needs kids, and I did work as a teacher in addition to doing the new corporate work we were doing, because we didn't have enough business to run a household. So
Yeah.
yes, for a few years we had to do sort of two jobs in order to make this one job the job that we would want to do all the time.
Right. No, I think you speak to a lot of our listeners who are, developing their own corporate training businesses right now. And you've really had a front row seat to the evolution of corporate training for the last few decades. What major changes have you seen in leadership communication and executive training over the years?
And
I
it's
mean, a
interesting.
lot. I'm sure a lot of change has
There is,
happened.
there has been a lot and continues to be, as you well know.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you use the word leaders because in the beginning, listen, everybody communicates. You can't do anything without communication. It happens and it affects everything. So
Yeah.
in the beginning we did, and still we continue to do a lot of one-on-one coaching, not just
Mhm.
corporate work. Uh,
Mhm.
so in the beginning, corporations didn't want to spend money on this because they didn't know what the heck it was. And
Mhm.
so they had HR departments and that sort of a thing. So we did begin to develop relationships with HR departments because
Mhm.
we knew that that's the way they were the folks in the corporations who dealt with such things as intra-department, interpersonal communication, and so
Mhm.
forth. So we worked our way through knowledgeable HR practices and so forth. But we took a lot of one-on-one clients, and eventually the word spread. And did we do any advertising? No, we're really to advertise. As a matter of fact, if you remember the yellow pages, some of your listeners will remember the old yellow pages.
I remember that. I'm old
Hey,
enough to remember that.
oh, good. We couldn't get advertising in the yellow pages because
Wow.
there was no category. There was no such thing. And finally, it took me 2 years, Heather, to get space in the yellow pages. And we were willing to pay for it, but couldn't get it. So finally, when they put it in, the category was uh, speech improvement, voice and diction. And there was one company, it was us. But anyway, so it started very, very slow, and it took a lot of
Yeah.
insistence on our part to stick with it.
Yeah, you guys really had a vision. You understood the value that this provides. I mean, communication skills is the most important skill, I would argue, that we could
Yeah.
possibly learn in our lifetime, and yet it's not taught in school, right? So we rely very heavily on our parents, which, also have their own lives and their own jobs, and they're not, don't have time to kind of sit around with us all day, and they're not experts themselves, right? Our parents are definitely not communication experts. So I really feel like it's a huge need in our world. I agree, not just for leadership, but for everybody, for
Yeah.
all professionals, especially, but really for every human being, it can be so helpful. So, what do you feel like has been your favorite part about doing this work?
Well, the favorite part is when it succeeds, when it works,
Mhm.
and you understand that we have 20 different folks in our company right now, the coaches and so forth. And whenever a coach succeeds with what that client needs, that's a success for us. So, for
Yeah.
example, at this point in my career, I occasionally receive an old-fashioned letter, sometimes an email from a client that I may have had 30 years ago and says, I still use this and my kids do that and blah, blah. To me, that's a success. To me, that is something that makes my work every day worthwhile because I know I'm helping someone do something that's important to them. So we measure success that way. So, and frankly, if I may speak a little bluntly, the money will follow. So for your
Right.
your listeners, I just want to say you do have to start off easy. Who's going to pay for the work that we did? Nobody wanted to pay for that. So our fees were, of course, fit to the society at the moment, but we had to settle for a little less than we do now. So you may have to start that way. For your listeners who may want to start something, you may have to start slow, get them to know you. And sometimes the advertising business, they call that a loss leader, so they get to know you. But if you have
Yeah.
you have the right desire, the right skill set, the right personality and all that, it will work.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah, and our podcast does focus a lot on how professionals and training firms specifically do grow and acquire clients. Like, what are some of the strategies that work for you now? I know that obviously step one, build your reputation, get your name out there, start to get those referrals, right? And then what kind of strategies do you guys use today?
Well, of course, today is so you can't even compare from today to when we started. And in
Mhm.
fact, anybody who is starting in this industry today
Mhm.
would not have to do what we had to do then, because
Yeah.
today we have all kinds of uh, tools available to us to
Mhm.
advertise. So uh,
Yeah.
at this stage, we don't do any advertising. We don't do any marketing because it's all referral work for us. Now,
Mhm.
having said that, we have a podcast that we do. We've written, I
Right.
don't know how we've written total, I think of 14 or 15 books
Yeah.
all in the industry. Some are textbooks, some are college resource books. Uh,
Mhm.
Plus, we do what we call eBooks. So, a
Mhm.
topic that we've developed some expertise in, like for example, investment firms. We do a lot of work with investors. So, we have an ebook on how to win investor presentations or how not to lose them or whatever. So, we have different categories of companies and we write an ebook and we publish it through still HR departments in some cases, depending on what the structure is of the company.
Yeah.
We make all of that available on our website for free. So
Mhm.
this is one way that we let people know who we are, where we are, and the quality of the work that we do.
No, I love that. That's such a win-win marketing strategy to provide so much free value to your clients that they can, really get a taste of what you have to offer. So that's brilliant. Really
Well,
brilliant.
communication, listen, there's nothing that works without communication.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what the work is. Uh, Listen, in fact, when 9/11 happened,
Mhm.
which is about how many 20 some years ago, 9/11 happened.
Mhm.
I started going to the Mideast for clients. A couple of my coaches, we did. How come? Why did you do that? People wondered here. Why are you doing that? You're going right into these guys sent the planes over here. Why are you doing that? That's a traitor. You shouldn't even be doing that stuff with these guys. Here was my rationale, and it is still today. In that situation, my goodness, the way we are today, I could probably use the same rationale. In those days, this is the way that they dealt with everything.
Mhm.
Bombs.
Mhm. Yeah.
What I said to them, and I still do, is this is the way you should do it.
Right.
You don't need this. You need this.
Right.
You need to build relationships. You need to understand the, the mindset of your opponent, your listener, plain and simple. So that's a philosophy that we've had all through. That if you can understand that communication is the key to so many difficulties and so many problems,
Yeah, it's the
it can work.
solution really to all conflict. I
Yeah.
totally agree. It's
Yeah.
um way undervalued
Yeah.
in the world, even still today. Obviously, things have changed a lot though in the
Yeah.
past
Absolutely.
40 years.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that so many like CEOs and leaders of these large corporations are bringing you in and bringing in other communication experts, right? They really do see that value,
Yeah.
at least in business, right? Hopefully, we
Yeah.
can translate that to every other. area of our world, like politics. Right?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we work with politicians as well. In fact, there's only two organizations that we will not work with.
Mm-hmm.
One is the Nazi Party, and the other is a group called Skinheads
Yeah.
because of what they do and so forth. Other
Yeah.
than that, Republicans, Democrats, it doesn't make any difference. I personally have coached in 2 presidential elections. We take politics very seriously because of the communication impact that they have. But we work with professional sports teams. Boston Celtics is a client of ours. We've had so many different, varied companies and organizations. It's not just business
Yeah.
because communication's everywhere.
It's so important, and
Yeah,
it's not about. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Even if you don't necessarily agree with somebody's political views, that doesn't mean that
yeah,
um, you know, it wouldn't help both parties for both sides to
yeah,
have more communication
yeah.
tools in their toolbox, right?
Well,
Can you
Let's
give an
re-
example? Oh, go ahead.
let's remember that communication is not just talking; it's
Yeah.
also listening.
Right.
So it works 2 ways. You don't just teach people how to talk, a speech improvement company, but
Yeah.
you teach them how to listen and how that interaction makes a difference as well. So you go ahead, your question. Sorry.
No, you already answered it. That was I was gonna ask, like, what is the most important communication skill? But I think you just answered it by saying listening, right? Or maybe what would you say is the most important communication skill to learn?
Well, that is a very deep question, and some of the books that we've written delve into that. And one of my personal efforts in the company is to do a lot of the research on the interaction between behavior and brain.
Mhm.
So we do a lot of research there. So one of the things I would say to answer your question is that the mindset of the person or persons who are involved with it makes a huge difference. Now, mindset is a very uh, deep and sometimes difficult subject to explore, but
Mhm.
it means it's a combination of your attitudes, your beliefs, your values, and then those play out in the way that you communicate with things
Mhm.
and stuff and people and so forth. So one of the challenges that we always have, and we don't always get into this, it's a little too deep for many of our clients. One of the challenges is how do you help people understand their mindset and then adjust it if need be in order to be effective in their communication. So we're not
Mhm.
telling people what to do. We're trying to help them think through what they
Mm,
want to do and then provide them with the skills and tools to do that. So we don't tell you what
yeah.
to do, but
So the most important communication skill is learning how to get out of your fishbowl, so to speak. Like when
yeah,
you're swimming in your fishbowl, we don't necessarily always see that there are other options, there are other perspectives, there are other ways of looking at a situation, solving problems, right? So if we can get out of that, then we can start to see, oh wow, there's a whole world here of options
sure,
for
'cause you tell a fish, oh, you should change the water. Fish should say, what water? What do you mean
right.
water? Don't even
Exactly.
know. Yeah.
Exactly. So teaching people how to get out of that for a second just to see what they've been swimming in.
Yeah.
Um, it sounds like that's maybe one of the more helpful communication skills or learning how we can do that as
Yeah.
individuals, right?
And what is your listener swimming in? Because
Mhm.
listen, it, it's not about you to be an
Mhm.
effective speaker or communicator. It's not about you. It's about are you able to help, convince, persuade, just plain help the other person, the listener? What do you need them to do? How do you want them to interact, react with you? So it's not about you. You may know everything you want to know and what's important about this, but how do you communicate that to someone else? So that's a lot of the work that we do because some people want to just, well, tell me what should I do with my hands? Okay, we can do that, but there's a
Mhm.
lot more to it involved, obviously. So for 60
Yeah.
years, it's been working.
Right. There's so many nonverbal
Oh yeah,
communication
yeah,
cues that we give out that we also have to kind of be aware of in learning how to be an effective communicator too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything communicates something. The true fact is, you cannot not communicate.
Mhm.
Even if I sit here like this, I'm communicating something, some
Right.
sort of a mood, some impression to you. So it's very
Yeah.
important.
Right. Um I guess what would you call it, like stoic, I feel like, which personality, which is so common to maybe more for men, but for some women too, right? To kind of mask how they're feeling. That is a communication. It's saying, I don't feel safe. I don't feel comfortable in this
Yep.
situation or with you, right? And then that kind of gets communicated whether they mean to or not.
That's whether you mean to or not. That's exactly correct, Heather.
Right. So even when you try not to communicate anything, it
Yeah.
communicates something.
Yeah, it is. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fascinating field to study. I'm very interested in it myself. I've definitely read a few books and I'm gonna check out some more of yours and learn even more. I feel like it is a skill that we can continue to develop and hone over our entire lives.
Of
It
course.
never
And
ends.
it's a human, it is a human characteristic. Do you know, here's an interesting thing. You know, we often talk about smiling and how important a smile is and all that. Did you know that the human being is the
Mhm.
only creature on earth that shows its teeth for pleasure?
Mm.
What?
Yeah, because normally it's a sign of
Yeah.
aggression in the animal kingdom,
So
right?
yeah, it's a warning. It's an aggression. No. So knowing those little things, knowing things about, as you point out, the nonverbal behavior, the eye contact, the head movements, and the clothing and all that sort of stuff. It's obviously a very important part of the work that we do as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So many sides to it. That's so fascinating. So bringing back to your own company, I guess like what are your, you guys have been doing this for so long. You're in such a great place. Do you have ways that you're innovating today or growing, or what are some of the challenges that your company is still facing maybe today or faces today?
Yeah, well, there's a long list of those, which that list is growing all the time. It started way back when we, decided to tape record people's voices and then, oh, videotape. Oh, we can see them. Oh. So there's a lot of different things that have changed over
Yeah.
the decades that we've adjusted to. And some of them we have initiated. We initiated, for example, treating fear of speaking on video, on tape. So how do you do that with people? Anyway, there's a lot. So if your question is what happens today? Today, of course, as every organization is facing, is AI. So we're
Mhm.
wondering what happens with AI. Is AI going to put us out of business? Is AI going to, every company's facing that. What's AI going to do to our bottom line? We embrace it. We embrace the changes as they come along. We try to integrate how we can utilize those to help people. So
Yeah.
we don't see the things that happen in the changes in technology or society. We don't see them as obstacles, but rather we see them as challenges. That how can we accept and embrace those things to help
Mhm.
the work that we do? So
Mhm.
AI, no different, but I know every organization faces that. And you would think that we'd be really afraid of it because how the heck can what if AI can do all this stuff?
Mhm.
Nothing, Heather, replaces the interpersonal connection that two human beings can have with one another. So we embrace it. We don't feel challenged by it. We're eager to fit it into what the needs of our listeners are.
That's wonderful. That's beautiful. Yeah. I agree. I think AI is, kind of like money, right? It's a tool that we
Yeah,
can use as individuals or businesses, right? And how we choose to use that tool is up to us. And
that's right.
I, yeah.
When my wife and I started this business many, many years ago, someone gave us a little plaque like this that we had still have in the office. It was this quote from Saint Francis of Assisi. And the
Mhm.
quote we practice this all the time. And it's one of the philosophies of the work that we do, everybody we hire. The quote was St. Francis said, there's no good walking anywhere to preach unless
Mhm.
we preach as we walk.
Mhm.
And boy, do we embrace that. So we do so much pro bono work. And I mean, there's so many different things. Whatever the technology is, how can we use it? How can it help people? So we're never really afraid of those things. We figure out how to incorporate them into the assistance, not all of us, but how do we help other people? And how does it help us help other people? So
Mhm.
embrace the challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If there was one thing in your company that you could just kind of magically fix, what would that be today?
You mean fix as a company or fix within the work that we do? How do you mean fix?
Within the running of your company
Yeah.
or the growth, if there's anything that you feel like is a challenge to growth or to innovation.
Okay. So there are two parts to your question. And the first part for us is the challenge is uh, finding the right kind of person, because this is a person-to-person business, no matter how you fix it. Finding the right kind of person to train and to work with, the right kind of individual who has the right mindset, as I mentioned earlier, right set of skills. So that's a challenge all the time. So our company is small, and we have many times had the opportunity to be purchased by some bigger company and blended into. No, we've kept it very small, almost boutique, so to speak. There's only 20 people in the organization. And over the years, it's probably only been 40, maybe. So finding the right personnel, very important. They want to be not only prepared physically, but philosophically with us. So that's important. And the greatest challenge that we faced in a business uh, is that we don't advertise. And there are so many other companies that are huge, that are backed by big corporations that put millions of dollars into advertising, and we don't do any of it. So for us, it's a little bit of a challenge when we see something that's big, splashy list, and then we say, been done before. No, stick to your knitting, be good at what you do. People will find you.
Right. Yeah, and so many different companies with their marketing, right? They might, um, you know, it might look like a competitor at face value, but when you actually dig in, you realize that what you have to offer, I'm sure, is much higher value, much more in depth. I mean, because you guys have that experience. You're both, we're experts, are experts, in this domain. So I
The
think
interesting
that
thing
really
too, Heather, I don't mean to cut you off, but to that point, the interesting thing is that communication in our business is worldwide. It's a human condition. So we have clients overseas, we have coaches overseas, we have a worldwide business because communication is everywhere. You can't do anything without it. I don't care what the language is. It's
right.
everywhere. So I'm sorry to interrupt you about that.
No, no, no. You're absolutely right. There's such a big need and everybody needs help with it. So there should be multiple people providing this service, as you mentioned, right?
But there's opposition. I mean, there's concern. There was
Yeah.
a period of time when we were convinced about the importance of helping young children
Mhm.
develop education and comfort with public speaking, so to speak. Because when you think about it, everything's public. Every time you
Mhm.
take your thoughts, it's public to somebody. So we thought that should be helped. We should help kids, adults, by starting with when they're they're children. So we started a campaign in New England, where we're still are based in New England, with all the New England states, to try to instigate uh, education in the public school system to kids in the fourth grade, sixth grade, I forget what it was now, 10th grade, would have some exposure to some kind of a speech communication course. And it'd be public speaking and discussion and building relationships, all of that. So my job at the time was to visit all of the states and to talk with the companies and different congresses and so forth. So I thought, and it was working great. And I went to Harvard University, and I thought, well, great if we had support with Harvard, that would be great. Harvard Law School. The dean said to me, I can't support that. I said, no, no. I said, what do you mean? Well, how can you not support help the children to communicate with? He said, no, no, no. I said, well, the Harvard Law School, we teach that you succeed in business, not on just your communication, but your ability to cite precedent
Mm.
in the courtroom. And he wouldn't support the fall. So I think we got agreement in 4 states, but now, of course, there's a lot of that across the United States. I think something like 40 different states support something like that now. So
Yeah, things have changed a lot.
starts in
But
childhood.
that's really, it's crazy to hear how long it took for these really influential institutions to get on board with the value that you bring.
But parents are the primary teacher. Hello.
Right, right,
They
right. To
do
get on
everything.
with the value that parents have,
That's
right?
exactly, yes, exactly
Yeah,
right.
right. Yeah. Well, what is one piece of advice that you would give leaders who want to become better communicators?
I think for leaders, now you use that word leaders, leadership, and in corporations,
Yeah.
there are different levels of stature of effectiveness and responsibility. But the leaders are people who say and do the things that other people want to follow. Okay.
Mhm.
Different than managers, different than directors. Leaders are people who set the tone, they set the culture and all that. So
Yeah.
one of the final things that we find with every engagement that we have is that we want that leader to be able to express 2 words they would like themselves and their corporation to be known as by other
Mm.
people. Okay.
Mm.
What do you want 2 people to say about you? You're not there. You're not in the conference. You're not in the room. What should people say about your organization? What would you like them to say? So we asked them to choose 2 words, and it's really hard. Should I be personable? Should I be authoritative? What should I do? What should I be? And then those words get them thinking, get the leaders and leadership organizations thinking, gee, what? And then how do you achieve that? If you want your customers, your clients, whatever you call them, if you want them to think that you are personable, friendly, authoritative, whatever it is, how do you exhibit that?
Mhm.
How do you
Mhm.
show that? The way you talk, the way you're advertised, the way you train your people on the phone, the way you train
Mhm.
your people who have to go out and do customer client relationships. So having leaders understand that is what
Mhm.
helps them, and then that helps us to build in the training and the kinds of things that we know will help them. So that's a place that we often start with leaders, and I suggest leaders try that. Just
Yeah, it sounds so hard. I can't imagine just picking
hard.
2 words.
No, it's hard. It's very
Is
difficult.
it 2, like, descriptive words, like, personable and respected, or is it like a phrase that you're looking?
No, there's specific words. Uh, so we would like to choose one word which is sort of, if you will, emotional, and the
Mhm.
other one which is very logical.
Mhm.
So in our company, for example, we have 4 words. We're going to teach everybody else. We better know how to do it. So we
Mhm.
have 4 words. Ours are authoritative. In other words, we want people to know we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Responsive. So when we get something, you got to be able to interact with people. Don't have time to wait anymore. You got to be responsive. So, for instance, we do not have an automatic answering machine. We have people answering the phone all the time. So,
Mhm.
authoritative, responsive, professional.
Mhm.
Do we get the lights on a certain time? Are we in business when we say we are? Do we have professional materials, et cetera, et cetera? And approachable. We
Mhm.
want people to be we want to be approachable. We want people to be able to talk to us, to raise any kind of questions or criticisms, anything they want to say to us. We need to be approachable and open with everything. So those are 4 words that we instill in every coach, every assistant we have. So I think leaders need to give some deep thought to that and choose that, and then enact that by the way the training and the way that you hire, the way that you treat your folks.
Yeah. No, that's so inspiring. Thank you for sharing that. I'm really sad that our conversation is coming to an end as we're nearing our time, but where can people find you to learn more about your
Oh,
work?
it's easy. Speechimprovement.com. Speech improvement company. What the heck? But now, and we've thought about changing it over the years, but nope. Speechimprovement.com.
All right. That's
Basically
easy
says
to
what we do.
remember.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
easy. And there's all kinds of websites, all kinds of free stuff that you can see who we are and all of that. So it's a lovely place to visit, even if you don't do business with us. Speechimprovement.com.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you have so many resources to lots of growing companies, leaders, professionals that they can find on your website, as you mentioned earlier. So, I'm definitely excited to dive in a bit deeper, see what else I can find. I know a lot of our listeners will check it out as well. Thank
Well,
you so
Heather, thank you. It's been lovely doing this little chat with you. I really appreciate it. And I hope it's been helpful to folks. And if they want to reach me and ask more questions, fine, speechimprovement.com. I'm happy to do it. So thank you for the opportunity to share all of this, Heather.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Becker.